Hello everybody, Spirit Gaming here. In this video, we will be talking about the 4 different free-to-play teams that will carry you through the world of Taiwan. You can find a timestamp for each team, just so I do not waste your precious time. But before I start with the first team, I would like to ask for you to subscribe, leave a like, and join my Discord for more Genshin Impact videos and streams. I am streaming every Monday, Wednesday and Sunday at 8 PM GMT plus 2, and I do have additional surprise streams when I feel like streaming. And without any further ado, let's start with the first team. So, the first team I will be talking about is the early game team. This team consists of your main character, Lisa, Bido, and Kia. You get every single character except Bido by just doing the main story, and there is a high chance that after AR5, you get Bido from the discounted Noel banner. Now I will list the strong sides of this team, and you will see them on the screen right now. This team has great damage for early game. It is utilizing one of the best elemental resonances in the game, it is extremely free-to-play friendly, has a good traveling speed because of the character sight and Kia's passive, it is strong versus the most annoying monsters, aka the mage bows that always have a shield, it has strong defense by using Bido's skill, and good artifacts are not needed at all. I know in the title you see that I show artifacts and everything, but for these early game teams, you do not need any artifacts. However, for this AR20 and defensive team, I will be talking about artifacts as well, so do not worry about that. But about the first two teams I'm gonna be talking about, you do not really need any artifacts, you just want to get as much damage as you can, and I guess those are the artifacts you need, the damaging ones. These were some of the best parts about the team. However, I will start explaining something about the elemental resonance, which I know not many people know about. In most of the teams, we will be utilizing the elemental resonance to the maximum potential. Elemental resonance is the buff you get by using 2 of the same elements or 4 different elements in your team. Elemental resonance is the buff you get by using 2 of the same elements or 4 different elements in your team. For this team, we are using the Electro Resonance. You can read what all of the elemental resonances do by going into Party Setup and then Elemental Resonance. Electro Resonance is mostly used in teams that heavily focus on their elemental burst, aka ultimate abilities. The main reason for this is that whenever a character creates superconduct, overloaded, and or electro charge, you will have a 50% chance to get an electro elemental particle. These electro particles work differently than other ones. Electro particles can actually give energy to any elemental user and not just electro users. And do you guys remember what I said? That this team focuses heavily on their elemental bursts, aka ultimate abilities. This means that they will charge them faster. So how do you start this combo off? You mainly want to use Kia's E first, or Bido's E first, and depending on which character you use first, use the other one. For example, if I use Bido first, then I use Kia, or if I use Kia first, then I use Bido next. This will create superconduct, which lowers the target's defense for 8 seconds, while also doing a lot of AoE cryo damage. Next we use Lisa to do her charge attacks, which will give the enemy electro, and at the end we will use our main character to do animal damage, which creates a swirl electro damage, basically one-shotting everyone around you. Now let's see how this works. If I can make it the first time, that would be great. So we use E, then E again, then use this, and you only need to hit one enemy and just charge the attack. Of course, this time the electro went off, but as you can see, that is the main combo we want to use. And again, let's see, cryo damage, E, Lisa, E, and then we use Swirl again to deal a complete insane amount of damage. So that is basically the main combo you want to use. I haven't said this, but you can combine any character you want with the swirl damage, and you will do a lot of damage anyways. Does not matter with what character you combine it with. That is the main point of this build. It is the animal character that you get. Again, as I said, this is the early game character, so you get it really soon in the game. Now, I do know that that is the optimal combo you can do. But, for example, if you find yourself in a sticky situation, you can always use Bido to protect yourself. How do you use Bido to protect yourself? Well, let's see. When this guy damages us, we can just charge our E, and as you can see, we took a little to no damage. I know I do take quite a bit now, because I'm level 15, I do not have Bido upgraded much. But at the early game, you will take 0 damage, trust me. I used Bido for a long amount of time. Now I do want to explain something else. The DPS on this team is mainly Beetle or Lisa, mainly because they have electro attacks, and electro attacks work really well against elemental shields and also do a crazy amount of damage in the early game. You use your main character to be basically a support and just boost the damage up from the electro damage, or you use Kia just so you lower the enemy's defenses and nothing else. We do not need the damage from these other guys. Mainly we want Lisa's damage, which does a lot, whether you charge or you just proc it with your auto attacks, or Beetle with her E, and when she is overcharged she deals a crazy amount of damage around the character, which is quite insane. The Q abilities are very good as well. It does help if you do use Beetle with her Q, and then you do want to auto attack mainly with this guy, or even just create a swirl. That could be very good too. The next really good thing about this team is that it has an adult male character. If you guys didn't know, the adult male characters actually run the fastest and consume the least stamina whether you're climbing or running, while the female adult characters, swim the fastest. So keep that in mind. That is how it works in Genshin Impact. I know no one has said this so far, or maybe 1 or 2 people have said it. I might do a video on this, but keep that in mind. Kia is one of the fastest characters, plus his actual passive is extremely good for traveling, making you consume less stamina when running, which is insane as well. And also you do have a Claymore in this team, which makes collecting ores very easy and simple by just doing one auto attack. That is pretty much it about the first team. If you have any questions, make sure to post them down in the comments below or join my Discord so we can have a faster and better discussion. And team number 2 is the adventure team. You might have already seen the other teams, but this is the next team I will be talking about. This team consists of Kia, your main character, Sucrose, and Ember. You get Kia, main character, and Ember for free just by doing the story, and then you have a very high chance to get Sucrose from the Noel banner, which is pretty easy to get. Now let's talk about the strong side of these teams and what they are. It has really fast and efficient traveling speed. It uses the best traveling elemental resonance. It uses a male adult character, which are the fastest in the game, as I said earlier. Kia and Ember have traveling passives, one for gliding and one for running, which we all know we all use those the most. The team has really good damage against most enemies, and good artifacts are not needed simply because this is a traveling team. You do not really want to use this as a fighting team when you're fighting bosses or anyone like that. You just want to use this team to explore and do stuff like that. Again, these are the best parts about the team, and I will start with explaining the elemental resonance this team utilizes, and that is the elemental resonance Impetuous Winds, which decreases stamina consumption by 15% and increases movement speed by 10%, while also shortens skill cooldown by 5%. That is pretty cool. And that is basically it about the resonance. Now I do want to explain something about the skills. You mainly want to use your main character and Sucrose after you use either Amber or Kia, and that is basically it. I won't really even show this off, but you basically want to either use this first and then use your E, or you either want to charge your attack, hit someone with fire damage, and use Sucrose to deal massive amounts swirl pyro damage. And that is basically what you want to do with this team. There is not really much to do when it comes to fighting. But as I said, like, we do want Kia and Ember for sure in this team, just because they increase our traveling speed, and also we do want two animal characters, just so they can give us less stamina consumption and more movement speed. And again, as I said earlier, artifacts are not needed for this team, mainly because we are using them for traveling only. If there are actual artifacts that make you consume less stamina or something like that, then make sure you use them, otherwise do not even bother. And the third team I will talk about is the AR20 team. You can start using this team once you get to AR20, or if you have Janling and Barbara earlier, just from getting them in the gacha. Now, this team uses Janling as the main DPS, Amber, main character, and Barbara as support. At this stage of the game, healers are becoming more and more important, and that is why we went with Barbara on this team. I just got Barbara yesterday, so I do not have her upgraded much. However, unlike the other sections, in this one, I will talk about artifacts, and they are actually needed. Oh, and yes, I do know that Pyro plus Hydro do not work that well together, but this is a full free-to-play team, since you get Amber and main character by just doing the story, and then at AR20 you get Ling and Barbara for free. But with that set aside, let's take a look at the good sides from this team comp. This is a full free-to-play team, you do not need any gadget or anything. Uses one of the best DPS characters, which is Ling, and you do get her for free. Has a healer, it has extremely good damage, good defense, uses cheap artifacts but good ones, and it does use the best elemental resonance. That is it about the good sides of the team comp, and now let's start explaining the elemental resonance. This team uses the Fairwind Flames resonance, which increases attack by 25%. And now we can see why this is the best elemental resonance in the game. An increase of 25% attack is huge, starting from the mid game all the way to the end game. Next, I do want to touch on the healer part. Barbara is one of the best healers in the whole game. You can use her skill and just switch to your DPS. Then your DPS will have both Hydro and Pyro damage, creating Vaporize. Vaporize deals extra damage when procced and also extinguishes the Pyro effect. However, because of Ling's ability, the bear keeps on proccing Pyro, so you continuously deal Vaporize damage, making you deal crazy DPS. This team is not meant to do burst damage, but it's meant to deal DPS. Also, this team does use Amber, which is an archer, and archers do let you proc the weak points of bosses especially, and of course we use the main character as well. Now, a really cool trick with the main character is that you can use your bear, aka the E on Ling, and just create a fiery Rasengan. Yes, you can do this way earlier in the game. I just wanted to show this off because it's extremely cool, guys. You basically have a Rasengan in here, and you do not really have to aim it. You just need to have your E around something that's inflicted by fire, and you will do insane amount of spheral pyro damage as well. So your main character actually does a good amount of damage as well. It's not like it does not. Next up, let's finally touch the artifacts. There are two characters you want to care about when it comes to artifacts, and that is Ling and Barbara. The best part is that Barbara just needs HP artifacts. The reason for that is that her healing scales off of her own HP. As we can see here, let's go to characters. Let's check out Barbara and check out the talents. And of course, as we see here, Barbara's normal attacks heal all party members and nearby ally characters for a certain amount of HP, which scales with Barbara's max HP. That means whenever we do have this shield up here, we will actually heal an amount based on her own HP. As you can see here, it's basically just passive healing whenever you have the shield, and also this does proc wet. Basically makes the enemies wet, which is pretty insane. Also, it has a very cool combination if you have your main animal character to Constellation 3, basically meaning you can use and create any swirl damage you want. As you can see here, see, you do pyro damage as well, pyro swirl damage, or if you have Barbara around you and hit someone that has been inflicted by wet or pyro, you deal swirl pyro or swirl wet damage, which is pretty much good. Now, what this means is that Barbara is actually a healer and also a very good tank, since you do have a lot of HP, but we don't really care that much about tanks in this game. Mainly we want to use Barbara and change her into Ling immediately, just so she does not worry about any damage taken, and also heals always and does vaporize damage quite a bit. However, when it comes to Ling, the bear is not as important as her auto attacks and charge attack. Ling has one of the best charge attacks in the whole game, and that is what makes the DPS characters good. DPS characters are usually the ones that deal the most amount of damage using their normal attacks and charge attacks, and not their abilities. In the early game, yes, this is not true. In the early game, you do want the characters that deal the most amount of damage just by using their skills. That is why we didn't really use any characters that had very bad E abilities, I would say. And we used mainly burst damages instead of DPS like we are doing now. But in the later stages of the game, using every single one of these skills will not even scratch the enemies, okay guys? It will not even scratch the enemies. Keep that in mind, it is very important. That is why we want one DPS character that can use these auto attacks and also charge attacks to their max potential. And to get back to the artifacts now, sorry it took me so long, on Barbara, as I said, you mostly want HP artifacts, while on Xiangling, you mainly want artifacts that increase your damage dealt by using the charge attack or normal attack, or even just increase your attack overall. Attack overall increase is really good because it does stack with your pyro elemental resonance, which is crazy good, and of course the charge attack, which you will be using most of the time when it increases charge attack crit rate, right? But of course you do not have the best artifacts as of yet. However, when I get normal attack damage and charge attack damage artifact, I will for sure use it. Keep that in mind. That is very awesome. Also, one thing I really forgot to mention is that Barbara, if she uses a very cool weapon, which is a 3-star weapon, and that weapon is Traveling Tears of the Dragon Slayer. This basically does, when switching characters, the new character taking the field has their attack increased by 24% for 10 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 20 seconds. Now, let's see what this does. Whenever I use Barbara, right? So Barbara is gonna be my main hero at first. This is what I'm gonna start with always. I use my E, so basically I do get the healing, I do get a wet buff, and also I do get increased damage from Barbara and from her weapon, also heal my Xiangling as well at the same time. This combo is nuts and it's crazy damage, also has healing as we said, which is pretty important, and of course whenever you get tired or when those 10 seconds passes, you want to do some fiery damage by using your main character, go to Barbara and use her E again, use Xiangling again, and that is basically your skill combination when it comes to utilizing all the weapons and artifacts. And that is basically it about this team. I know, and again I will say, if you do want to have a discussion about these teams, join my Discord, or you can post something in the comments down below and I will answer for sure. But the last team is more of a meme team, and the only people that will enjoy it are the ones that play tanks in most games, tanks or supports. Yes, you see this team right now, but we do want to make something else first, and that is go to a Geo region. This team will not really work if you do not have the Geo main character unlocked, so let's do that really quickly and show off this skill and show off this team and its maximal potential. By the way, if you do want to change your element on the main character, you just need to go to a Geo statue and resonate with Geo. Now your character will change its abilities and also will become a Geo element. As you can see, I can throw rocks in the air and everything. It is pretty cool. You can climb them, you can submerge them underwater, so you can walk on water instead. It is very, very cool. But let's see what team this is. This team uses all free-to-play characters again, which is Xiangling, the Geo main character, Noelle, and Barbara. You get all of these for free, like extremely free. You always get Noelle from the Noelle banner when you do the 20 pool, and you do want to do that because it is way cheaper than the other banners, right? So you do get Noelle. Now, what are the good sides of this build, which is what I'm gonna answer right now. It has insane defense, average damage, it is very good for traveling, it is fully free to play, using cheap defensive artifacts and HP artifacts, and it has 2 healers, which means you travel less to the statues or eat less food, which at the endgame it becomes really important for you to save as much time as you can and not heal as much, because yes, of course the statues do have a limited amount of healing they can have per day, as you can see here, even though it does replenish eventually, but they do have a small amount of healing. Well, it's not really a small amount right now, but it won't be too much later on in the game, so keep that in mind. The healers are pretty important in this team comp. And first of all, again, as always, let's start with the Elemental Resonance. We go to Elemental Resonance, and what do we see? Enduring Rock. Increases resistance to interruption, and when protected by a shield, increases attack damage by 15%. Now, this works very well with our DPS character and the Noelle character. The main thing is that you will most likely always have some sort of a shield, whether it be Noelle shield or a crystallized shield, which you can get by using Geo attacks on top of any element. Basically, this means that you get a lot of defense and a bunch of DPS almost always when you're fighting. You also have heals both from Noelle and Barbara, Of course, Barbara heals more, but Noelle gives you the shield, which increases your damage again. Your main character can summon rocks and also give you crit rate with his ultimate ability. And now the artifacts you should use are always going to be defensive artifacts on L, HP artifacts on Barbara, while we want normal attack or charge attack damage on Xiangling. I know this might be a meme build, but it is actually pretty good when it is used properly. The skill combos are always going to be Barbara into L into Xiangling. This will give you a shield and a healing circle on your Xiangling, which lets you do more damage. And do not worry about damage taken, of course, at the same time. And lastly, we only want to use our main character for whenever we need a shield, which we can do by inflicting an enemy with Pyro and using our E on them. This will give us a fire shield, or if we have an enemy that has wet on them, or we create wet on them, we use our main character's damage again, E ability, which has only 5 seconds cooldown, and get an elemental shield again. And of course that means your Xiangling's damage will be buffed up like crazy again. This is a pretty cool combo again, as I said. You might want to utilize this if you do enjoy playing tanks and do not care, and you do not want to care about dodging too much. Of course, the fights will be longer because you do not have as much DPS, but it's still very, very good and very, very fun. And yeah, that is it about the video. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, and join me in Discord for more Genshin content. As I said, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday at 8 PM GMT plus 2. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye until next time. See ya!